welcome back to the Chad Hasty Show, News Talk KFYO. This week we were scheduled to be in Washington, D.C., broadcasting from the Fair Immigration Radio Row event. So coronavirus canceled those plans, so we're bringing the event to you over the air. And we appreciate our friends over at Fair for bringing us some great guests as well. Earlier we were visiting with Jenna Ellis, senior legal advisor for the Trump 2020 campaign, talking about the Supreme Court. Of course, another big issue that has really kind of fallen, maybe out of the spotlight, but an issue that I know the president cares about a lot, and that is illegal immigration. And joining us on the phones today, Theo Wold, Deputy Assistant to the President for Policy in the Office of American Innovation. Mr. Wold, good morning. How are you today?
I'm hanging in there, Chad. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. It's great to have you on the program. Wish we could be in D.C. with you guys, but we'll take what we can get, being with the coronavirus pandemic going on. Let's talk about illegal immigration. It's an issue that, for maybe many in the media has fallen out of the spotlight with coronavirus and the Supreme Court and everything with the election overall. But I know the president, it's still a big focus for this administration.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I think the thing I'd say at the top is just, the incredible story that the president has to tell on immigration is truly historic. In part because he's done something pretty straightforward that folks there in Northwest Texas probably do every single day of the week, which is the president did what he said he was going to do. And that's kind of a revolutionary principle in Washington, as you can imagine. But here, the thing on illegal immigration, the border now being probably the most secure it's ever been in the history of this country, the crazy thing in Washington is silence is the product of the president's success. The more successful he is, the less they want to talk about it. So yeah, you're right. The subject's pretty much fallen off the political rags, and the mainstream media folks don't want to talk about it because it's been a real shining point of the president's accomplishments since 2017.
What would you say are, when the president comes out, I know y'all highlighted a few of these during the convention, but what would you say are one or two of the biggest, progress points when it comes to illegal immigration in this country?
Yeah, well, so there's a couple of things I'd highlight just real quick. Number one, obviously everyone's interested in the progress of the wall, and as your listeners know who've been keeping score on the swamp creatures since 2017, we had nearly everything under the sun thrown at that project. Lawsuits from every left advocacy group, the Democrats in Congress withholding the funds, nationwide injunctions by activist judges, and yet today we've got about 400 miles built. We're doing about a mile a day now, 10 miles a week, and the president got the money, got the contracts, and got the builders down there and moving. So that's a huge success. One that has not got as much attention, and I think this is really kind of emblematic of who the president is and how he approaches problems that face the nation, are these agreements that the president was able to get signed with Mexico and some of the Central American countries. Now, the Bush administration didn't even try to get agreements with these folks. They didn't even try. The Obama administration tried but wasn't able to get it done. And when the president said he was going to go negotiate and make those governments deal with this problem, their citizens fleeing their communities, their towns, and heading north, nearly everyone in Washington practically laughed in the president's face. There's no way Donald Trump can get that done. The president got an agreement with Mexico. He got an agreement with El Salvador. He got an agreement with Guatemala. And he got an agreement with Honduras. Now, all of those countries are investing resources and funds in keeping the migrant caravans from forming and leaving their countries. So, for example, Mexico's got about 27,000 Mexican troops on their side of the border, stopping criminals, stopping the gangs and the cartels, and turning the, quote, asylum seekers, who are really just fraudsters, turning them around and sending them back to their country. That's something that's really been enormously successful, and the mainstream media hasn't covered a single sentence of that.
Yeah, no, I mean you're absolutely right. When it comes to something else that I know the president brought up, proposed it. I guess it was maybe last year. Merit-based immigration system, which the left, they got crazy about. Even though it's funny, the left always gets crazy about anything the president does. They threaten to move to Canada. Canada has a merit-based immigration system, so I guess they could not move to Canada at that point under this plan. But where are we as far as that program goes? Is that still kind of languishing in Congress?
No. So here's the thing. So the president was very clear with members of Congress. He believes in a merit-based immigration system, and for folks at who have heard maybe the Democrat talking point on merit-based immigration, really just think of it as skills-based immigration. We want people who come here to be able to have a job day one. We want them to be able to speak our language, and we want them to know a little bit about our culture, our history, and our government. And as you said, that's not controversial because there are countries all over the world, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, who have these systems. The same countries that the left always says have great healthcare systems, education systems, and the like. What we're doing right now is we put that before members of Congress. The Democrats weren't interested in playing ball, so the president is proceeding. There's a lot of discretionary authority that the Constitution and the existing law gives to the president, and we are putting in place, as we speak, the building blocks to realign our legal immigration system, a realignment that hasn't happened since 1963, before we put a man on the moon. And a lot has changed since 1963. So the president's full steam ahead. And when we flip the lights on a second term in January of next year, people are going to be very surprised at what we've built.
Besides the merit-based system, what else is the president looking forward to continuing or adding when it comes to whether it be illegal immigration or just the immigration system overall?
Well, I think what I'd say to that is, first off, people always say immigration is such a fractious topic. It's so divisive, and really, honestly, that's only if you take it from the left's viewpoint. If you take it from our viewpoint, the positive side of real immigration enforcement, pushing reforms to these sort of swamp creature laws or policies, is that the American worker has more opportunity. That's the positive side of the story. So from day one of this term all the way through the end of a second term, the president is going to be pushing the bureaucracy, members of Congress, the private sector to always put the American worker first. Everything starts with that principle. And then I think, to give you some specific items, look, the sanctuary cities fight is not over. And if anyone is in doubt about what the president said from the moment he started his campaign in 2016 through today about sanctuary cities, just look at Portland, Seattle, New York, these jurisdictions that are run by, Democrat mayors, where you've got these problems in the streets, the looting, the riots. That all grows out of sanctuary city policy. Those are all sanctuary jurisdictions. They are all places where they, pick and choose what laws they want to enforce and pick and choose who they're going to enforce them with. And I think that fight is one where we've been, sued and blocked in the courts, but we're going to keep on fighting in a second term. We've got some creative ideas of how we're going to fix that and how we're going to get around these activist judges in order to fix it.
Before we let you go, you said earlier about 400 miles of the border wall have been completed. About a mile a day is what we're looking at right now. Is there a timeline on when construction may be done, or victory can be claimed, I guess, as far as the border wall goes?
So I'd say it is a victory considering all the hurdles and obstacles we had to climb and surmount to get to where we are right now. But here's the fascinating thing: all those people who told us, this isn't the Dark Ages, walls don't mean anything. Obviously, those people didn't read the same journals or notes on fortification that George Washington was reading, because what we've learned in building the wall where we've built it is it has forced the trafficking networks, the cartels, to alter and reconnoiter their ground, change their territory. So as we put up wall, we're forcing them to make adjustments, and then we're able to interdict and put our law enforcement officers where we can shut them down. So it's a game of cat and mouse with the criminal syndicates, and we're going to keep going. So it's kind of and the answer would be it's a full-on engaged battle. and we'll know that it's total victory when we've shut the cartels down for good.
And is that something that we can also anticipate, in a second term of the Trump administration, more pressure being put on the cartels, possibly?
Oh, guaranteed. We're blessed to have an attorney general and some folks in leadership there at DHS who know where to hit these folks, how to hit them, and we've got a haymaker coming their way, and they're going to be on their heels if they aren't already. So yeah, that's a conflict we've engaged in. As you know, Chad, we've had the largest prosecution of MS-13 in the nation's history up in Long Island. About 97 MS-13 gang members prosecuted for various crimes and on their way back to their home countries and deportation orders. Huge investigation and apprehension by DHS and DOJ together. That fight's going to continue here to get them out of our country, and we're going to sock it to them down there as well.
All right. Keep up the great work. Theo Wold, Deputy Assistant to the President, appreciate your time today, and hopefully we'll visit with you again in the future.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me on, Chad. Appreciate it.
Thank you.